Hey friends, before the story begins, please subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so that whenever we bring a new story, you get it first. If you have trouble sleeping or your mind feels restless, then this story is especially for you. So let's begin.
The Great Hall was silent. It was a huge place made of dark metal and cold stone. Tall pillars reached high like ancient trees. Bright white lights shined down from above, making everything look sharp and dangerous. Hundreds of alien soldiers stood in perfect lines. They did not move. They did not speak. They only watched. At the center of the hall, a small cub lay on the floor. It was weak, shaking, too small to understand what was happening. Its fur was dirty. Its breathing was slow. It looked scared and alone. Many alien leaders watched from high seats. Some wore shining armor. Some had long robes. All of them had the same cold expression. They did not see a child. They saw a threat. The cub was not normal. Its DNA was different. It carried something rare, something powerful. Something the Emperor did not want to exist. If the cub grew older, it could change the balance of power in the galaxy. Some believed it could one day challenge the Emperor himself. So the order was simple. The cub must die. The execution was meant to be fast and quiet. A simple ending to a problem. A message to everyone. No one disobeys the Dominion. Not even a helpless child. But something unexpected happened. A human arrived. She did not look special. Her armor was scratched and dirty from battles. Her face showed tiredness but also strength. She walked slowly, step by step, until she stood beside the cub. Many soldiers watched her with confusion. Some watched with fear. Humans were new to the galaxy, but they were already known for one thing. They never step back. They never give up, and they never let the weak be harmed. The human stood tall. Her body was still, but her presence felt heavy like a storm before lightning. She did not run. She did not hide. She simply stood beside the cub. That was enough. Everyone could feel it. Something was different now. The executioner, a tall, armored alien, raised his weapon. The blade glowed with blue energy. It was made for death. One strike would end everything. But before he moved, the air changed. The human shifted her stance, slow, steady, certain. It was not a big movement, but it meant everything. It meant no. She did not need words. She did not need threats. Her body spoke clearly. If you want the cub, you will have to go through me. In that moment, every soldier in the hall felt something deep inside. Something old, something instinctual, fear. Not loud fear, not panic, but a quiet warning deep in the bones. This human is dangerous. This human is protective. This human will fight until nothing remains. Some aliens blinked in confusion. They did not understand why a human would risk everything for a child that was not even her own species. Others understood immediately. Humans were strange creatures. They protected the young, any young. Even if they were not human, it was not logic, it was instinct. The cub slowly lifted its head. Its small eyes looked at the human. There was confusion, then something new, comfort. A small heartbeat steadied. The cub felt safe. For the first time since its birth, someone was willing to defend it. High above, the Emperor watched. He did not move. His face did not change. He had ruled the galaxy for longer than anyone remembered. His voice could start a war. His silence could end one. He studied the human carefully. Most species obeyed before being asked. Humans did not. They had strange hearts and wild spirits. They fought storms, darkness, hunger, and extinction on their home world long before they ever had ships. They survived because they never stopped protecting their own. And now, it seemed, the cub had become one of their own. The Emperor did not give a new order. He did not need to. Every soldier in the hall understood something had just changed. The human had drawn a line, not with a weapon, not with violence, but simply by standing between danger and an innocent life. A simple act, a powerful message, a challenge to the galaxy. The executioner lowered the blade slightly, not because he wanted to, but because instinct told him that striking now would start something unstoppable. The hall stayed silent. No one spoke. No one dared move. The human waited, calm, steady, unbreakable. Everyone felt the same truth at the same time. This was no longer just an execution. This was the beginning of something bigger, a warning, a choice, a turning point. The cub breathed quietly beside her, unaware of the storm forming around its small body. The Emperor continued to watch, and slowly the tension grew heavier, thicker, impossible to ignore. Something powerful had entered the galaxy that day. Not a weapon, not a fleet, not a conqueror, but a protector, a human. And everyone knew, whatever happened next, nothing would ever be the same again. Silence filled the grand hall, heavy like a storm waiting to break. The human stood motionless beside the small cub, her shadow stretching long across the cold metal floor. Above her, rows of alien eyes stared down with confusion, anger, curiosity, and fear. Everyone waited. The Emperor still had not spoken, but the Dominion did not freeze forever. Orders did not need words. Power moved even in silence. Slowly, the soldiers began to adjust position. Their armor shifted softly, their weapons humming with deadly energy. Red targeting lights dotted the floor around the human, and then finally settled on her chest. She did not flinch. She did not back away. She stayed exactly where she was. The cub pressed closer to her leg, small body shaking but calmer than before. It did not understand why this strange creature was protecting it, but its instincts whispered one word: safe. Across the hall, officials exchanged tense glances. Some believed the human was foolish. Others believed she was dangerous. A few understood she was both, and that made her unpredictable. Then the tension finally cracked. A command officer moved. His armor glowed with the colors of authority, his footsteps echoing through the hall. He walked with confidence, each step sharp and practiced. His body language said one thing: remove the human. One of the soldiers obeyed first, then another, then more. Like a wave, troops began closing in, slow, steady, careful. They formed a ring around her, weapons raised, ready to strike. Still, she did not move. She was calm. That calmness unnerved them more than any aggression ever could. Humans weren't fearless. They simply stood firm even when afraid, and that made others doubt themselves. As soldiers reached the center, the air became tense and thick. Muscles tightened. Breathing slowed. The Dominion had seen many battles, but this moment felt different. It felt personal. One soldier reached out to seize her arm. The moment his hand entered her space, everything changed. The human stance shifted again, small, subtle, controlled. Not an attack, not violence, just a silent message: stop. The soldier hesitated. His instinct screamed danger. His hand froze inches from her armor. The room held its breath. Then, as if something ancient awoke inside the soldiers at the same time, many stepped back. Not because they feared punishment, because they feared her. The Emperor continued to watch from above, still silent. Humans were strange. They did not always win because they were stronger. Sometimes they won because others hesitated first. And hesitation was growing, not loud, not obvious, but spreading like cracks in glass. Finally, the command officer stepped forward himself. He was older, taller, armored with higher rank than the others. His presence forced attention. The soldiers straightened, focusing. He stopped only a few steps from the human. Then, slowly, he reached toward the cub. The cub shrank back. The human stepped forward. Her body blocked the officer from reaching the child. It was a small movement, but its meaning was massive. It was no longer a misunderstanding, no longer hesitation. It was now a direct declaration: this child will not be harmed. Some nobles leaned forward with interest. Others whispered silently. Some looked angry, insulted that a single human dared interfere with ancient law. But one thing was clear: this was now a challenge. The Dominion did not allow challenges. The command officer signaled sharply. Soldiers raised their weapons again. Energy cells charged. A single wrong breath could start an attack. Yet in that charged moment, something small but important happened. The cub stood. Weak legs trembled, but it stood. It moved closer to the human and pressed itself against her boot, choosing her. Not because she was the same species, not because she was stronger, but because she was the only one who did not look at it like a mistake. At that simple act, a ripple ran through the room. To many, it meant nothing, but to the Emperor it meant everything. The weak do not seek the strong, they seek the safe. And safety was loyalty. The Dominion was built on fear, not loyalty. Perhaps that was why humans felt so dangerous. They created trust instead of obedience. Trust could grow, trust could spread, trust could spark rebellion. The Emperor finally lifted a hand. Weapons lowered instantly. The room exhaled. The danger did not disappear, it simply changed shape. Soldiers did not stand down. They simply waited. The Emperor was not finished. Two armored guards approached with a transport cage, a cold metal box meant for dangerous animals. It was clear. The cub would not be killed immediately, but it would be taken, experimented on, broken, and eventually erased. The human watched the cage roll closer. The cub cried softly, pressing harder against her leg. She did not step aside. She did not surrender. She did not allow the box to reach the child. She stood still, but her presence became sharper, stronger, more threatening than before. This was no longer just instinct. This was commitment. No retreat, no compromise, no surrender. The Emperor studied her. The court waited. Everyone sensed it. A new decision was forming, not just about the cub, not just about the human, but about the future. A choice that would shape the fate of species. The Emperor lowered his hand again, slow, deliberate, final. Soldiers paused. The cage stopped. Every eye turned toward the throne. Everyone waited for the next move. The human stood ready. The cub trembled at her side, and the galaxy held its breath, because the next step would either stop this conflict or ignite a war that no one could ever undo. The air inside the stone room felt heavy. The strange glowing wall behind Aiden hummed quietly, like a sleeping machine waiting to wake up. The energy around him was different now. It felt alive. Aiden stood near the marks carved into the floor. His shadow stretched long and thin under the strange cold light. His heart was still beating fast from everything that had happened so far. He tried to breathe slowly, but fear sat deep inside him. The tall silver creatures watched him in silence. Their glowing blue eyes never blinked. They looked like sentinels, not alive but not dead either. Aiden swallowed. "What do you want from me?" he asked. The silver guardian who had first spoken stepped forward. Its voice echoed calmly, yet Aiden felt the weight of every word. "We do not want harm," it said. "We want balance. You crossed the line. That line was not just a path. It was a boundary between two worlds." Aiden blinked. "Worlds? Yes," the guardian answered. "Your world and ours." Aiden looked around again. The symbols on the floor began glowing brighter, one by one, like someone was turning on hidden lights under the stone. "What is this place?" he whispered. The guardian paused, as if choosing its words carefully. "This place is called the Veil Chamber. It is ancient. Older than your cities, older than your history. It was built to protect humans from what lies beyond." Aiden's eyes widened. "Protect us From what? The Guardian lowered its head slightly. From us. For a moment, the room felt colder. Aiden stepped back, but his foot brushed the glowing mark under him. As soon as he touched it, the room reacted. A soft pulse of blue light shot upward through his body. His vision blurred. His ears rang. He gasped as something invisible rushed through him, like wind, energy, and sound all at once. The stone floor cracked under his feet. Aiden stumbled and tried to step away, but his body did not respond. His legs were locked in place. What is happening? He cried out. The Guardians did not move. It is the consequence of crossing the line, their leader said, and also your awakening. Aiden shook his head wildly. I don't understand. The light around him kept growing brighter and brighter until everything in the room glowed blue. His skin felt warm. His chest felt like it was burning, not painful but powerful. The strange marks at the boundary seemed to call to him. He felt something inside him change. He wasn't the same. Time seemed to stretch. When the blue light finally faded, Aiden dropped to the floor, shaking. His hands touched the cold stone. His breathing was fast and uneven. What did you do to me? He whispered. The Guardian answered softly, we did nothing. The veil did. It reacts to those who cross. Only one in many thousands is chosen. Aiden slowly stood up, feeling weak. He touched his chest where the strange energy had entered him. But instead of pain, he felt strength, deep, ancient strength. He looked at his reflection in a polished metal surface built into the wall. His eyes were no longer just brown. They glowed softly like the Guardians. Aiden stumbled back in shock. No, this isn't real, he said, panic rising. It is real, the Guardian replied. You changed because the veil accepted you. Aiden shook his head. I don't want this. The Guardian tilted its head. No one chooses their path. The path chooses them. A deep rumbling sound echoed from the far end of the chamber. Dust fell from the ceiling. A red glow flickered behind a massive doorway. The Guardians turned sharply, alert. What now? Aiden asked, fear tightening his chest again. The leader responded, voice low and urgent. Another force has sensed the activation. Something dangerous is coming. Aiden stared at the door as shadows moved behind it. Something large scraped against metal. What is coming? He whispered. Something that should never wake, the Guardian said. The scraping turned into a deep roar that made the floor vibrate. Aiden froze. That doesn't sound friendly. It is not. The Guardian's voice became sharp. You must listen carefully. You are linked to the veil now. Only you can control its power. Aiden stared at the glowing lines on the floor. Control it? I don't even understand it. You will learn, the Guardian said. And you must learn fast, because if you cannot, the roar came again, louder, angry. Aiden's heart raced. It will destroy everything, the Guardian finished. Aiden clenched his fists. His body still shook from the strange transformation, but somewhere inside him a new feeling stirred. Not just fear, but responsibility. He looked at the glowing energy on the floor. What do I do? He asked. The Guardian slowly raised its hand and pointed at the symbols. Step into the center of the sigil. Trust the veil. It will show you. Aiden hesitated for 1 second. Then he stepped forward. The lights flared, bright and powerful. Energy wrapped around him like wind, and for a moment he felt weightless, like he was standing between worlds. The roar behind the door thundered again. Aiden closed his eyes tightly. Whatever was coming, he knew one thing. There was no turning back now. Not after crossing the line. Not after changing forever. This was only the beginning. The room turned silent, but only for a heartbeat. Then the massive metal door trembled again, harder this time. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the symbols around Aiden glowed even brighter as if preparing for something dangerous. Aiden stood in the center of the glowing sigil. The blue light surrounding him moved like slow flames. His heart pounded, but his feet didn't move. The invisible force holding him earlier was gone. Now it was his choice to stay. The Guardian stepped closer. "Aiden, listen carefully," it said. "The creature behind that door is called the Riftborn. It exists only in darkness. It was sealed here thousands of years ago." Aiden swallowed, fear rising again. "Why was it sealed?" he asked. The Guardian's glowing eyes dimmed slightly. "Because it destroys everything it touches. It feeds on chaos." A loud metallic screech interrupted the explanation. Aiden snapped his head toward the door. A long claw, dark and sharp like obsidian, slid through the gap at the bottom. The stone beneath it burned slightly as if the creature's touch was poison. Aiden whispered, "That thing is real." Another deep growl rolled across the room, vibrating the air. The Guardians tightened formation, creating a protective wall between Aiden and the shaking door. But Aiden noticed something strange, something terrifying. The door was not being broken. It was unlocking. Layers of glowing red symbols rotated and dissolved like melting wax. The seal was undoing itself. Aiden pointed at it, voice shaking. "It's opening by itself. Why?" The Guardian answered without turning its head. "Because the moment you crossed the line, the barrier weakened. When the veil chose you, balance changed. Now the Riftborn senses you." Aiden stepped back inside the sigil, trying to stay calm. "But why me? I'm just a normal person." The Guardian looked at him. "You were normal. Now you are veil-linked." Aiden opened his mouth to argue, but the final lock shattered with a thunderous boom. The door burst open. Dark smoke poured out like a living shadow, spreading across the floor and walls. The air turned colder, so cold Aiden could see his breath. Then it stepped out. The Riftborn was tall, taller than the Guardians. Its body was made of darkness, shifting and twisting like storm clouds. Glowing cracks of red energy pulsed under its skin. 4 long claws extended from each hand, and its face had no mouth, only 2 burning red eyes that stared directly at Aiden. Aiden's legs felt weak. "It's looking at me," he whispered. The Guardian nodded. "It knows your connection to the veil. To it, you are either a threat or a key." The creature growled, a low, horrifying sound that echoed in Aiden's bones. Then it moved, fast, almost faster than sight. With one sweeping strike, it knocked 2 Guardians aside like broken statues. Sparks flew. Their metal bodies crashed against the wall. Aiden gasped. The remaining Guardians formed a defensive line. The leader raised its arm and energy shot forward, creating a barrier of shimmering blue light. The Riftborn slammed into it, claws digging into the shield. The barrier trembled. Aiden watched helplessly. "They can't stop it." "No," the Guardian replied, struggling to hold the barrier. "Only you can." Aiden shook his head, fear overwhelming him again. "I don't know how. I don't even know what this power is." The Riftborn roared and pushed harder. Cracks appeared in the blue barrier. The Guardian shouted, voice firm but strained. "Focus on the veil sigil beneath you. It reacts to your mind, your voice, your intent." Aiden forced himself to breathe slowly. Focus. He looked down. The glowing symbols were no longer still. They moved in patterns like flowing water. The center symbol pulsed gently, as if waiting. Aiden felt a pull, like something calling his name without words. His body moved on instinct. He placed his hand over the central mark. The moment his skin touched it, energy rushed through him. Images flashed in his mind, city ruins, ancient battles, strange worlds full of light and shadow. Voices spoke in a language he didn't know, yet somehow understood. Protect the veil. His eyes widened as energy built inside him, stronger than before. The Riftborn broke through the barrier. The Guardians were thrown aside. Aiden looked up just as the creature lunged toward him, claws extended, red eyes burning with hunger. Time slowed. Aiden's heart hammered. He felt fear, but he felt something else too: power. Energy flickered around his hands, blue sparks growing into swirling streams. Without thinking, Aiden raised his arm. A blast of blue light shot forward. It struck the rift-born square in the chest and sent it crashing backward into the stone wall. The impact shook the chamber, leaving a glowing burn mark across the creature's body. The rift-born let out a furious scream. Aiden stared at his own hands, shocked. "I did that." The Guardian stood slowly, damaged but functioning. "Yes," it said, "the veil recognizes you." The rift-born rose again, angrier than before. Its red energy glowed brighter. Aiden knew the creature wouldn't stop. Not until one of them fell. He stood straighter. His fear didn't vanish, but it changed. It became determination. He whispered to himself, "I don't know why this happened, but I can't run now." The sigil under him brightened, responding to his choice. The rift-born charged again. Aiden spread his fingers, energy gathering, stronger, sharper, clearer. This time he didn't wait. He attacked first. Two streams of blue energy shot toward the monster, one from each hand. The rift-born countered with a wave of darkness. Light and shadow collided, exploding in the center with blinding force. The blast shook the room. Aiden slid backward but stayed standing. The rift-born staggered, stunned. Aiden inhaled, voice steady. "This ends now." The sigil flared one final time. A beam of pure blue light erupted from beneath him, hitting the rift-born and wrapping it like chains. The creature roared, fought, and clawed, but the veil's power held firm. Slowly the creature dissolved back into shadow, shrinking until only smoke remained, and then nothing. Silence filled the room. Aiden fell to one knee, exhausted but alive. The Guardian approached him slowly. "It is done," it said softly. "You have proven something rare." Aiden looked up, breathing heavily. "What have I proven?" "That you are not just chosen," the Guardian replied. "You are meant." Aiden didn't fully understand, but deep inside he knew this wasn't the end. It was only the first fight. The chamber remained quiet long after the rift-born vanished. The thick darkness slowly faded, and the air became warmer again. Aiden stayed kneeling for a moment, letting his breath steady. His body felt weak, drained, yet somewhere deep inside he felt something else, strength growing, as if his bones and blood had begun to change. Slowly he stood. The symbols beneath him dimmed, no longer glowing brightly but pulsing softly, almost like a heartbeat. The Guardians watched him without moving, their glowing eyes steady and unreadable. Aiden looked around the chamber. The stone walls no longer felt hostile. Instead, they felt ancient, heavy with memory and secrets. Something hidden beneath the surface of the world had awakened. The lead Guardian stepped forward. Its voice, though emotionless, carried weight. Aiden listened. The Guardian explained that the veil was not just a power source or a weapon. It was a throne, an ancient authority older than nations, older than species, older than the galaxy itself. It was created long ago when the first beings learned how to shape reality. They feared chaos, so they forged a power that required balance, courage, and purpose. That power was meant for only one type of being, a veil bearer. Millions of years passed, and the throne waited. Civilizations rose and fell. Empires expanded and shattered. But still, no one worthy touched the sigil until now. The Guardian paused, letting the weight of revelation settle. Aiden wasn't just chosen. He was heir. The chamber lights shifted. The walls moved, stones sliding like gears and exposing pathways previously hidden. Dust drifted through the air as a new door slowly opened. Beyond it lay a long corridor filled with floating lights. They hovered like stars, forming a glowing trail. The Guardian motioned for Aiden to follow. He did. Every step echoed softly. His heartbeat matched the gentle pulse of the sigil still glowing faintly on his hands and chest. He couldn't erase what had happened. The battle with the Riftborn had left its mark, not just on the room, but inside him. Something had changed permanently, and the world he knew was far behind him now. As he walked deeper, the air shifted. It smelled ancient, not like dust, but like something untouched by time. At the end of the corridor, another chamber opened. This one was larger, vast, and cathedral-like. Huge pillars shaped like coiling dragons stretched toward a ceiling painted with shifting constellations. The stars above weren't just artwork. They moved, glowed, and formed maps of worlds beyond human understanding. Aiden stared upward in awe. Then he saw it. At the center of the chamber, floating above a black stone platform, was a crown, simple yet impossibly intricate. It glowed with soft silver and deep violet light. The metal seemed alive, shifting its shape like liquid and solid at the same time. The Guardian spoke again. It said the crown was the final symbol of the Veil's ruler. Whoever wore it held the authority to command the Guardians, seal or open dimensional gates, and protect the fragile balance between light and shadow. But the crown accepted only those who could carry responsibility without letting power shape their heart. Many creatures in the past had tried. All failed. Some burned. Some vanished. Some awakened monsters within themselves and became riftborn. Aiden stared at the crown, feeling an invisible pressure, like the air itself was watching, judging, waiting. His hands trembled slightly. He didn't want a throne. He didn't want command or power or destiny. He just wanted answers. He wanted to understand why a normal life was taken from him, why he was dragged into a world of ancient powers and darkness. Yet deep inside, he knew the truth. The moment he crossed the glowing line, there was no turning back. Fate had already shifted. The Guardian moved beside him and told him that the universe was beginning to change. The Riftborn who tried to escape was only one fragment. Others were waking across the dark corners of the galaxy. The balance between worlds was breaking, and ancient forces smelled opportunity. War was coming. Not a war of nations, not even a war of species, but a war of existence. Aiden took a slow breath. The weight of that reality sat heavy on him, yet something within him remained steady. He walked to the stone platform. The crown hovered silently, its glow reflecting in his eyes. The closer he came, the stronger he felt the veil energy rise around him, swirling gently like wind. When he stopped in front of it, the chamber grew quiet, so quiet that even his heartbeat sounded loud. He lifted his hand. For a moment the crown didn't move. Then slowly it lowered, responding to his presence. The air grew electric. Light wrapped around his fingers. The sigils on his body glowed brighter. Then the crown touched his hand. A flash of white light exploded through the chamber, blinding and silent. Time seemed to stop. The world disappeared. Aiden found himself floating in a void of swirling stars and spiraling galaxies. He felt connected to everything, every life, every world, every thread of time. He understood something overwhelming. The veil wasn't just a power, it was memory. It held the history of civilizations long dead, the wisdom of countless generations, and the scars of wars fought before the universe cooled. And now, it flowed into him. The visions faded. Aiden stood again in the chamber. The crown now rested on his head, not heavy like metal, but light like air, like it was part of him. The guardians knelt. The symbols on the floor glowed in recognition. Aiden felt no pride, only clarity. He whispered to himself, calm, steady. He understood his place. He was no longer just a stranger who walked into the wrong ruin. He was the veil bearer, the new protector of the balance. And somewhere beyond the stars, something dark felt his awakening, something watching, something preparing. The chamber trembled softly, not from danger but from arrival. A new portal began forming behind him. Aiden turned toward it. His journey was not ending, it was beginning. The portal behind Aiden expanded, forming a swirling vortex of violet and blue energy. Its pull was silent, yet impossibly powerful, like a tide that pulled at the core of existence. The chamber trembled, stone dust falling from the ancient carved ceiling. The guardians rose from their kneeling position and formed a protective circle around Aiden, but the gesture was ceremonial, not defensive. They knew this moment was inevitable. The veil crown on Aiden's head pulsed softly, responding to the portal. The glowing sigils along his skin shifted again, forming patterns that no living creature had seen in millennia. His heartbeat synchronized with the rhythm of the veil, slow, steady, ancient. The vortex stabilized. The air grew still. Aiden stepped forward. As soon as his foot touched the edge of the portal's light, the world around him dissolved, not violently, but smoothly, like ink dissolving into water. The chamber faded into a dark expanse, and the guardians vanished from sight. Then another world formed around him. He stood upon an open plateau beneath a night sky not made of stars, but of wounds. Tears in space glowed like burning scars, each spill of light bleeding energy into the void. Massive metal structures rose around him, towers, weapons, fortresses, all silent, all abandoned. It looked like a battlefield frozen in time. Bones, some impossibly large, littered the ground. The wind carried the echo of something old, something that once lived here and never wished to return. Aiden walked forward, guided by instinct rather than knowledge. The path beneath him was broken metal, cracked stone, and strange alien carvings scarred by fire. This place was once vibrant, now it was a graveyard. As he reached the center of the plateau, the ground shifted. Faint lights flickered beneath the stone sensors, recognizing his presence. The ancient machines of this forgotten world awakened slowly. A structure emerged from the earth. A massive metallic formation shaped like wings and spears merged into a single throne platform. Dust cascaded from its surface as it rose, and once fully lifted, it stretched taller than any cathedral Aiden had ever seen. Symbols identical to those on Aiden's skin glowed across the throne's pillars. This was the seat of the Veil, the place where rulers once decided the fate of galaxies. At the base of the throne lay a weapon, long, elegant, and forged from living metal. It pulsed faintly, waiting for the one who could wield it. Aiden reached down. The moment his hand touched the weapon, lightning surged across the ground. The sky responded, the star wounds rippled, reacting to his awakening. Energy flowed from the weapon to the crown and then through his bones. His vision blurred. The battlefield around him faded into a sweeping memory of the past, a vision not seen through his eyes, but through the veil itself. He saw fleets of ships crossing space in formation, beams of light cutting darkness. He witnessed great civilizations, some made of steel and fire, others of crystal and thought, gathering under a single banner. Humanity was not among them then, but humans existed, fragile, young, unknown. And yet, the Veil chose a human now. The vision shifted again. A shadow spread across the galaxy, dark, cold, endless. The Riftborn swarmed like living smoke, consuming stars, extinguishing suns. Worlds fell. Cities burned. Species that had existed longer than human history collapsed before the storm. In the final stand, the Veil ruler, the last one, unleashed their power, sealing the Riftborn behind barriers scattered across forgotten ruins, hidden worlds, and long-dead kingdoms. But they paid a cost. They vanished. And the veil crown waited, waiting for someone who could carry the burden without being corrupted. The memory faded. Aiden found himself standing once more on the plateau, weapon glowing in his grip. He now understood. The rift-born creature he fought earlier was only the first to escape. Others would follow. The wounds in the sky were weakening the barrier, and soon they would tear open completely. A rumble shook the ground. The star wounds split wider. Shadow shapes began forming at their edges, silhouettes with burning red eyes and monstrous wings made of darkness. The Riftborn were awakening. The first wave descended, not crawling but falling from the tier like meteors. They hit the ground with thunderous force. Aiden didn't run. His fear was still there, but it no longer ruled him. The sigils across his body blazed as he raised the weapon. The veil energy rippled outward, forming a protective sphere around him. The first creature lunged. Time slowed. Aiden moved. The weapon sliced through the creature with impossible speed, not cutting flesh, but tearing the shadow essence apart. The Riftborn dissolved into smoke, but dozens more followed. He fought relentlessly, each strike fueled by instinct and the veil's memory. His movements grew faster, sharper, more controlled. The shadows fell one after another, but the sky only poured more down. The plateau became a storm of battle, lightning bursts, shadow ruptures, energy shockwaves. Aiden endured. He adapted. He ruled the battlefield like a force of nature. Yet even as he fought, the deepest truth settled in his mind. This was not the end. This was the beginning. The Riftborn assault slowed not because they weakened, but because something else arrived. Above the battlefield, a shape appeared, massive, winged, ancient. Not shadow, not machine, something older, something awakening in response to him. A spirit of the veil. It hovered in the sky, its presence commanding silence. The Riftborn froze, shrinking back. The spirit lowered itself until its massive gaze aligned with the human who now carried the crown. Its wings expanded, sending ripples through space itself. The plateau shifted once more, not physically, but in meaning. Aiden was no longer a lost traveler or accidental intruder. He was a ruler, a protector, a declaration. And across the universe, in forgotten temples, distant outposts and observatories orbiting dying suns, creatures of every kind lifted their heads and felt the shift. A new veil-bearer had risen. Balance was no longer collapsing. It was returning. The stars trembled not from fear but from awakening. The war that once ended civilizations had begun again, but this time humanity stood at the front, not as prey, not as observers, but as the force that would change everything. For the first time in 1,000 ages, the universe whispered one silent truth. Humanity had arrived.